Welcome back to the program. My name is Darrell Kwao. Now, as government prepares to present the 2020 budget statement next November, the Trades Union Congress says the major concern it wants government to address is the high unemployment rate in the country. According to the TUC, though economic conditions are improving, the high number of job losses must be addressed in the next economic year. Chairman of the TUC, Richard Kwesi-Abua, was speaking to journalists after a forum in Accra to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Friedrich Ebert Stiftung in Accra.
The high unemployment rate in Ghana is seen as a setback to the economic development of the country and also burden to both private and public sector. According to Chairman of the Trades Union Congress, the issue of job creation is topmost on its request to the Finance Minister in the next budget presentation.
We've already submitted our input. We're talking about creating of jobs. That's the key. Creating of jobs. Because all government that have come, we hear that. But this time we want to see the practicability of it. That's all. More jobs, more people are employed, like the youth, you and I. All right, to get jobs to do. That's our focus.
The Friedrich Ebert Stiftung Foundation has supported government in several economic activities to provide better living conditions for citizens. Resident coordinator of the foundation, Fritz Kopsika, is optimistic that the partnership with government so far in the last 50 years will be improved.
It's to promote democracy and social justice. And I think, as you're very well aware, first of all, those are very big goals. And secondly, they are processes and not events. So I think 50 years is, in comparison to the time and to the tasks ahead, it's a fairly small period of time. And so we might continue working with our partners here in Ghana for the next 50 years, I can imagine, in order to implement democracy all the way and social justice.
The forum was focused on mergers in the various trade unions and its impact. Ebenezer Sabutis reports for Joy Business.
CEO of Hollard Insurance Company, Patience Achiano, has criticized the National Insurance Commission, NIC, for not enforcing the required industry laws, making the insurance industry lose out on significant benefits. She spoke to Joy Business at the Maiden Tertiary Entrepreneurship Education Forum organized by Hollard Insurance to give the youth entrepreneurial education as well as offer them opportunities to become sales agents to earn more income whilst in school.
Insurance Commission is doing a lot already, and there's a draft insurance bill in the works. We are all waiting for to become law by the end of this year. In it, additional compulsory insurance. Currently we have two compulsory insurance, auto as well as commercial buildings. But my biggest challenge is with enforcement, because whilst people know that it's compulsory, my understanding is that out of 2 million vehicles that have been registered, only about 900 are insured. So there are many people, many vehicles on the roads that are uninsured. How do we get people to comply with the law? Enforcement is my biggest challenge. We also know that many of the commercial buildings that we have are not insured, and so they pose risk to people who go there to do business. And how is the NIC ensuring? I know that every now and then we organize security people to go around to just check and see whether people have insured their buildings, but we can go further by penalizing those who do not do it. Instead of just naming and shaming, we penalize them by taking them to suing them, doing things that will get people to do the right things. For me, it's more about enforcement. Whilst we're happy with the additional insurance products that will come on board with the new draft bill, we are more concerned about enforcement. I think for us at Hollard already we've started, and part of our streetwise financial literacy program entails going out there to educate people on what insurance means and how they can benefit from it. And together with the NIC, who I know is also very much interested in promoting insurance education, people should understand more the benefits of taking insurance, and this should address the low penetration rates that we currently have in the country.
Turning next to the Ashanti region, where the Bosomtwi Rural Bank has signed on to the Ghana Deposit Protection Scheme to protect small depositors in the event of a lockup. Now, Board Vice Chairman Benjamin Osei-Boateng says securing interests of depositors and their funds have become paramount to the bank. The scheme, established under the Ghana Deposit Protection Act, protects small depositors from losses caused by an insured event. Mr. Osei-Boateng says the banking sector crisis and subsequent cleanup make the move necessary. Prince Apia has more in this report.
The scheme, established under the Ghana Deposit Protection Act, Act 968 of 2018, protects small depositors from losses caused by insured events. Board Vice Chairman of Bosomtwi Rural Bank, Mr. Osei-Boateng, says the banking sector crisis and subsequent cleanup make the move necessary. He believes the deposit protection scheme will significantly boost public confidence in the financial system.
It has come as a result of the fact that when banks collapse, you will see that the small depositors form the nucleus of depositors who will suffer. So this is to insulate them. In case the unexpected happens, then they will be protected. Yes, we operate in rural settings, and most of our depositors are small depositors. They deposit in piecemeals, and if you look at our deposit profile, they form the majority. So we made the announcement to instill confidence in them, and it's a very good scheme. So with this, I think they will feel delighted to deposit with us.
Mr. Osei-Boateng spoke to Love Business at Bosomtwi Rural Bank's 29th Annual General Meeting at Kontenase in Ashanti region. Deposits portfolio increased by 18.53% from 53,792,862 Ghana cedis in 2017 to 63,761,290 Ghana cedis in 2018. He says the bank has increased authorized shares to boost its capital for expansion.
If you look at our account, we met the minimum stated capital, and if you look at our total assets and other facets of our all the financial indicators, so to speak, we are not doing bad. And yes, we thank our cherished shareholders for supporting us. And as you witness at this annual general meeting, we have increased our authorized shares, and we urge them to subscribe to these shares in order for us to increase our capital for expansion. So,
meanwhile, the Association of Rural Banks implores banking officials to strengthen anti-cyber security mechanisms to protect depositors. Meanwhile, Bosomtwi Rural Bank has exceeded Bank of Ghana's minimum threshold of 1 million Ghana cedis with 3.8 million Ghana cedis. Prince Apia reporting.
You're watching Business Live. Now, the Ministry of Communication has issued some directives on the communication service tax implementation. The ministry, as part of directive, is asking that the CST is treated the same way as VAT, NHIS, Get Fund, and the Get Fund levies, the same way in which they are implemented. Joining me in studio is my colleague Norvan Akwa-Hayford, who has been reading that statement for us. Just lead us through, Norvan, what the Ministry of Communication is saying essentially.
Okay, so clearly what they are saying is that they want the telecommunications to stop the upfront deductions that they are doing when people buy credit and data, and then begin to treat this as what you would say a consumer tax. So as and when I use the credit or data on my phone, that is when you can charge this particular tax. And don't forget that the VAT and NHIS, it's done in such a way that the shops and the retail outlets, as and when you buy, that is when they calculate that and put on the total cost of what you're buying, and then they charge you. So that is what they're saying. And the ministry is saying that, look, you know what, prior to, the CST being moved from 6% to 9%, what happened was that the telcos, absorbed it when it was at 6%, but when it was brought at 9%, these telcos have decided that they were not going to absorb this tax again, and they were charging it on the consumers. And in view of that, of course, their profit margins were going to go up. And so then after they had consultations with them on the 7th, on the 8th of this month, they felt that, look, you know what, we wanted you to try and absorb it because we thought that you could absorb this particular tax. But then the telcos also insisted and said, no, they cannot do that. And so the government is saying, if that is the case, from today, with immediate effect, they don't expect them to do the upfront charging they're doing. They should apply it the same way they're applying NHIS VAT Get Fund, which means that when I buy a credit of 10 cedis, give me all my 10 cedis airtime in terms of monetary value and units. But as when I use them, that is when you can do the deductions.
What does this change? I mean, people are watching and they are wondering, so would this change the cost at which I purchase my data or make my calls?
Well, the advantage to this is that, and they were also asking them to make sure they roll over, excess data. So which means that if I bought data for this month and have not been able to use everything, you cannot say you want to, I will lose it. Don't forget that some of the telcos, as it is today, when you bought data and then you did not use it and the month ended, you lost everything. And that's how come you have some of them who are running ads that is saying that your data is yours and so we can roll it over for you. So now there's a clear directive in that regard. And what it means is that when I bought 10 CDs and it was sitting on my phone and haven't used it, I am not charged the CST. So it's only when I use it that I am charged.
Right. I mean, this is a directive, so the network operators don't have a choice but to follow what the Ministry of Communications is saying. But how do you anticipate they are going to take this news?
I'm very sure that especially those who are charging, those when you buy data and at the end of the month when you don't use it, you lose it, and then so you will have to buy again. They will not be very happy because now government feels that, okay, so if you think you want to charge the consumer, we're going to also make sure that you don't get the kind of things that you were getting from these consumers. And of course, what it means is that, fine, if you want us to apply it in this sense, in any case, the people will pay anyway, but they will not be very happy because certain things also have been taken away from these telcos.
All right. Norvan Akwaheford is Assistant Business Editor at JoyNews. Thanks for your perspective tonight, Norvan. Well, let's move on to other stories. LPG marketers say government's objective of increasing access and consumption of the products from current 25% to 50% by the year 2030 is impossible unless there is a complete removal of all taxes on LPG products. According to the association, pricing is the biggest obstacle that is affecting an increase in demand. The vice chairman of the LPG Marketing Companies Association, Gabriel Kumi, told Joy Business at the stakeholder engagement on the cylinder recirculation model in Sunyane that the consistent tax increment on LPG products is harshly affecting the sector. Bono Regional Correspondent Precious Semekvo comes through with this report.
Under the theme, Cylinder Recirculation Model, Our Safety, Creating More Jobs, the National Petroleum Authority has been engaging stakeholders and the public on the rolling out of the Cylinder Recirculation Model CRM policy in the Bono Regional Capital, Sunyane. The policy, according to government, is aimed at mitigating against petroleum-related accidents in the country due to the misuse and inappropriate handling of petroleum products, especially liquefied petroleum gas, LPG. Addressing stakeholders, Chief Executive Officer of NPL, Hassan Tampuli, said government sees the safety of citizens as paramount in the implementation of the CRM policy whilst ensuring the job security of those along the value chain. Maria Okwe, Corporate Affairs Director, spoke on his behalf.
That the CRM model of LPG distribution will be implemented fully. The relevant licenses will be issued and safety protocols will be keenly observed by the NPA to make sure that the safety of the good people of Ghana while increasing access of LPG for domestic, commercial, and industrial use will increase from the current 25% to 50% by the year 2030. We want to assure you once again that there will be no job losses.
Vice Chairman of the LPG Marketing Companies Association, Gabriel Kumi, in an interview with Joy Business, said government cannot achieve its LPG penetration target without complete removal of taxes on the products.
We believe that LPG is not a luxury product. It's a consumable, and it's a product with an elastic demand. What that simply means is that once you raise prices up, you push a lot of people away from consuming the product. If you look at the statistics, between 2016 and present, LPG consumption in Ghana has been very stagnant if you compare that to the 10 years of 2016 to 2015. So we believe that at this moment, the only way government can engender growth, the only way government can increase the consumption of LPG in Ghana is to remove all taxes. We as an association are calling for a complete removal of all taxes from LPG so that the product could be made affordable to the ordinary Ghanaian.
He also said any subtle attempt to take away the business of indigenes along the value chain will be fiercely resisted.
The indigenous Ghanaians have built the industry over the past 25 years through no direct support from government. This policy is not seeking to introduce an industry. The policy is seeking to apply a new strategy to an existing industry. It's just fair that the current players who have built the industry are protected and their businesses enhanced. Any attempt to take away the business from the indigenous guys who have built the industry all these years will be met with a very fierce resistance.
Though some consumers who spoke to Joy Business welcomed the circulation policy, they said an increase in LPG price will demotivate them.
If the price of gas is not reduced, people will collect the cylinders and they may not even come back to buy the gas. Because looking at Brahaf with the population, charcoal and then firewood, they are cheaper as compared to gas.
The cylinders, some may be leaking. If you leave it with them, they will find out a ways of maintaining it or disposing it off and then giving us a new one. In fact, to me, I accept it and I pray that the whole nation should embrace.
In other news tonight, about 38 warehouses are expected to be commissioned for use by close of year. That's according to the Minister for Special Initiatives, Mavis Howard Kumsen. The initiative is part of government's efforts aimed at improving agriculture in the country. Madam Kumsen has been speaking ahead of commissioning of the first two projects at Ejura in the Ashanti region.
Ejura, Tamale and Techiman, which are large grain producing hubs, will each get 2 warehouses. Each of the 1,000 capacity drain warehouse have dryers which are capable of treating 20 tons of grains daily. An installed solar system supplying 15 kilowatt energy supports the national grid to power the systems. Here is Minister for Special Initiative Mavis Howard Kumsen.
Ejura, Tamale, and then Techiman, they have 2 each. Then the rest of the 44 are scattered all over the country. We have 1 here at Ebobo. Then you go to Mampong, Asem, and there's another 1 too there. As we speak, we have about 32 that is completed. So the 18 will soon be. They are also almost finished. But those that are fully completed are the 32. Because we have not commissioned them yet. So after this commission, you won't have operation. We'll hand them over to the Minister of Agriculture through the buffer stop to be in operation. The rest of the year, we'll have about 38 fully finished.
Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Osuefriye Akoto, responding to issues on use of government lands in the area, says steps are in place to commence soya bean cultivation in the area. For some time now, we have been in talks with some Brazilians. They have accepted to partner as plant soya on the government's lands. We will have a lot to consume and export. The technical people have been to Tamale to look at the land there. They will come here at a later date. We just concluded the discussions. That is why we are now informing you. Very soon they will commence.
They say the customer is key to the bottom line of all business organizations. It is in this regard that corporations invest a lot in keeping the customer happy. As we wrap up on Customer Service Week celebrations, we take a look at customer service in Ghana and its importance.
The month of October has been set aside to celebrate customers. The week 7th to the 11th October was the highlight of the celebration of the customer, with several firms sending appreciative messages to their customers. Of course, the customer is the reason for every business. But how exactly did the observance of Customer Service Week come about? Yvonne Ohui McCarthy is a customer service expert and tells us more.
So it originated from the United States. It was initially established by the International Customer Service Association. Okay. So they celebrated it up from 1984, that's some 35 years ago, okay, up until 1992, when it was passed in Congress and proclaimed a weekly celebration every year, okay, to celebrate customer service and organizations that were at least putting in the effort to give their customers the best.
But how well do Ghanaian businesses practice customer service? I decided to test a vendor by purchasing a bottle of water worth 2 cedis with a 50 cedi note. My aim was to find out how the vendor would react in getting me change. There, I met a customer who also purchased some water with a 10 cedi note, and as expected, the vendor did not have change for him. Although she made the effort to step out of her shop to get some change, there was no communication to the customer, leaving him dissatisfied. With the ever-changing business environment and the growing importance of customer service, what should service providers look out for?
Organizations need to understand you can't run away from customer service. You need to invest in it. Employ the right people. When you're employing people, check if they have the right mindset and the right skill set. Philip, there are two problems now, and the problems are having people with the right mindset and the right skill set. So you can have the skill set, for example, be a good communicator, have persuasive skills, be a good listener, all those things that you need as a skill. But if your mindset is wrong, so you wake up in the morning telling yourself, today is Friday, and if that Mr. Osei comes to annoy me, I'm going to give it to him. You have the wrong mindset, but you have the skill set. On the reverse, you can also have the right attitude or the right mindset, knowing that customers are great. But if you're unable to communicate, you would have a problem.
You may not be treating your customers the very best way, but remember that it's never too late to start right.
And on that note, we end Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching. My name is Daryl Kwao. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Enjoy your weekend.